Hello, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me? Just doing a test. Could you please let me know in the chat if you can hear me? I see 2 yeses, so I assume the other 13 are also hearing me. Thank you for this check. I expect some others also to come, but we can already start, of course, for the webinar today, which is about display advertising in life sciences. It's about targeting and some content strategies. It's a nice topic to close off the working year, so to say. It's almost vacation time for a lot of us. Some of us, like me, have already been on vacation. But yeah, we're heading the summer, and it's an interesting period always to work on projects that you usually may not have a lot of time for. So we wanted to talk a bit about content in that regard. So I'm very excited about that. And again, very happy that you guys are all joining me. It's 31 degrees now, I think, around 30 or so in the Netherlands, which is an exemption because it has been very bad in the past weeks. So we are enjoying that here. I hope you also have some good weather. And yeah, let's just start with the webinar. All right, so we're going to talk about display advertising and then topics related to that. So I'm going to start about content strategies. I will talk about Google Display, which is, of course, a very popular, very well-known platform for display advertising. I have a few slides for you about Verve ads. So Verve is a platform that I will be talking about. Just a quick introduction for you to know that there are other tools and platforms also for your display goals. And we'll end up with some technical tips. So let's start. So your content strategies, how to create content for your audience, and of course, in context for display. So like I said, it's summer now, which means that you have hopefully a bit more time than usual. What we hear a lot is CEO is on holiday, the manager is on holiday, different people are on holiday, so you might be waiting for some follow-ups, and in the meantime, you have the time to think about strategies of what you want to do after the summer, maybe. So when you're busy, let's say it's December, the most terrible time of the year, it's beginning of December, you have Christmas coming up, you have all these things to do still, it's super, super busy. You have the budget that you have to do. But if you have some time, even if it's just a few hours in the summer, that you have some empty space in your agenda, it's nice to make use of this time to be a bit more creative. It's nice to just sit back, think, reflect, see some data maybe on what you have been doing, and then come up with new ideas. I think it's the best time. So hopefully this webinar can inspire you for that. Now, before we start, just a quick checklist. So we're going to talk about content and content creation and brainstorming. I think you should always follow this checklist first to make it more efficient for you. I think if you want to create content, you should always have your customer persona available. If you don't have this yet within your company, a clear customer persona with the pain points and the goals and the interests and such, that you know exactly who you are targeting, that you know exactly which types of content topics would be interesting to them, would provide value, then I wouldn't start yet. What I would also do is define your SMART goals. So content is a very time-intensive activity. You can spend hours on blogs, on posts, on designs, or whatever. So it's very important to have SMART goals. So know, what are you working towards? Is it a blog? Is it a white paper? Do you want posts? If so, how many posts? It's also to keep your own head cool, because if you spend 5 days brainstorming and then maybe you produced 5 posts and you feel bad about it, that's not what we aim for. We want you to come up with things that you think work for you. And if it's just a post, it's a post. If it's a few blocks, it's a block. It's important that you know what you are working towards too, realistically. And also a content audit is important. So if you just go through your own content, what have we been doing since the last summer, actually? What have we been doing this year? Which type of post did well? Like I said, you have a bit more time to reflect on things and maybe let the data sink in a little bit about what has been happening. I see a question, by the way, from Tim. Can we have the presentation afterwards? Of course, the presentation will be available, and also the this recording. So definitely. So you're welcome. What are popular types of content? What do we see now? As I'm talking, feel free to also share things that you see that you think are nice or work. But of course, we see more and more videos. I think TikTok changed the game. TikTok made videos very popular, very engaging. And then Instagram followed. And then LinkedIn is slowly but surely also following. So we believe that LinkedIn will also focus a bit more on videos. They have been testing this feature where you scroll on LinkedIn, similar to how Reels work, or how you scroll on YouTube Shorts or TikTok. So you keep watching videos. It's also addictive. So of course, that's their model of keeping you as a user on the platform. But it offers you a chance. It offers you a chance to make some good quality content and go viral and get a lot of impressions there. In general, videos have always worked well. Things that we hear a lot, people also work on during the holidays or summer break, is case studies. Maybe this client that you has a little bit more time also to have a call with you about the collaboration. How has the collaboration been going? What have you been doing exactly? What were the results? Also, they have a bit more time. Similar for getting testimonials. So that's also an interesting thing to do. In the past 5 years, podcasts have been exploding. 5 years ago, it was relatively new. I mean, you already had some podcasts before, but 5 years ago, it was still sort of the early adopters that were doing it. Now it feels and seems like almost everyone's trying to start a podcast. Does it mean it's too late? Never, never. I think if you have a podcast, if you have the time and resources available for it, of course, because it can be very time intensive. But if you have your niche audience, let's say you have 20 scientists that are potential clients listening to your podcast, that can be enough depending on what you offer them. If you offer big projects, that can be enough. And it also doesn't have to be complex. You don't have to have a studio. A podcast form can be recorded on your laptop. There are a lot of tips and tricks that you can find also on this. But if you would start a podcast, I think it's nice to sort of have a tryout or a pilot, so to say, so that you give yourself the feeling also that you can just start small. You don't have to go big. Blogs are still popular. Blogs are good for search engine optimization, of course, but people still read it also. Typically, there would be blogs on websites. They are shifting now a little bit to the channels that have a lot of attention at the moment. So people are sharing their blogs more and more on the social channels or on popular news channels also. You can collaborate with certain places where you know people are reading news or updates or whatever. Email is still a very good way to share blogs also, so that combines another type of content. We also see user-generated content. We see it here. I love user-generated content. I created myself as well. But it's just very sincere. So in business, we're all selling and, it's all very corporate. But what is nice about user-generated content, it's real. It's about you. It's about your life. It's about a certain person, what they do, what they like, what are things they're working on. And we also see that this type of content has higher engagement than a corporate message or a corporate video where you're promoting your product or whatever. People know if you're trying to sell them something or you are being very sincere. So what we wanted to see but still don't see is that for life science companies, the company leaders generate more content themselves because then they position themselves as thought leaders. And for example, on LinkedIn, the content that is shared personally always gets more engagement than from the company. And you're giving a face to your company. And I think that's a very smart step to do for your brand to claim this thought leadership. So maybe there are people in your company that you can ask if they want to also create some content themselves and share it, and then reshare it through your own professional pages, of course. Webinars. Webinars were exploding during COVID, and somehow people stopped. That's definitely what I see. Maybe it's because there's no time or there are events. Clearly because there are events, because in event season, you don't have time to sit somewhere and record a webinar and do the promotion. You have other things on your plate. But if you're thinking about it, webinars are such an important way to connect with your community, to showcase what you can do, to provide this value that you are trying. So if you have been doing webinars and you've been doing that less, I really advise to keep doing it at scale. If you haven't been doing it, I would also advise doing it. Specifically, if you feel like your company, you as a marketing manager or commercial leader, your company leadership is pushing you towards sales, then a webinar is actually a great way to also generate this feeling of who are the leads, are they engaging, what do they want? Because you have the people, your community in front of you, and you're talking with them. And what best way is there to connect with your audience by providing value? So definitely don't overlook that. Ebooks and white papers are still popular. I think for display also very interesting. We'll get to that later. But it's a great way for awareness also and showing your expertise. So definitely this summer, if you have time to type some interesting things and make a nice document. Doesn't have to be 30 pages, doesn't have to be 50 pages. Again, keep it simple. It's really about the value. It's not about ChatGPT prompts. It's really about something that is interesting for your audience. And then still emails work. Emails have always worked. You can also still relaunch your email campaigns or experiment with that again. The thing is, now I'm mentioning all these things, but for smaller teams, and I think many of you from the names I see, and I already had contact with a lot of you, it takes a lot of time. It's really overwhelming, creating posts, creating content specifically. So what I would recommend is choosing one or two of these content projects. So for example, you want to focus on a few emails or a few blogs, or you want to create one or two case studies. I think that's the most important thing. The most important thing is to have high quality content and not so much pushing yourself to do everything at once, because I think there's a balance between content quality and quantity. Because if you focus only on quality and make sure that your content is 100% super good, first of all, it won't be super good because probably your audience expects something a little bit else, which is where quantity helps you. If you use the 80-20 rule and you produce different blogs or maybe a smaller white paper that in your eyes has okay quality, of course, it should look nice, it shouldn't have mistakes or errors, it should be informational correct, but you can always keep on improving and perfectionizing. I think that's a pitfall. So try to balance that out. It's okay to have multiple projects if you don't focus on perfectionism, because perfectionism isn't going to help you. You can perfectionize over time as your audience engages, and you'll do another audit and see what works best for you. But definitely try to choose one or two projects, maybe discuss it together with your company leadership before they're gone on vacation. Maybe some projects you can do with your a team of scientists. Maybe they want to help you with writing something. That would be great. Or together with the sales team. That's up to you. Whoever is available. Yeah. Again, SMART goals will help you to focus. So also, I can imagine you're wondering, what should I do? Should I do case studies? Should I do blogs? Should I do webinars? That's a very good question. I cannot answer that for you. That's something for you personal, or I have to dive into your company case, of course, and your strategy and such. But maybe this provides you a little bit of a strategy. So first of all, your audience is the most important factor. Who is your audience? Where are they? Are they interested in podcasts? Are they reading blogs? Are they on LinkedIn? If you are targeting medical professionals, chances are they're not so much on LinkedIn. They will be more on, let's say, websites with news on healthcare. If you are with executives of biotech companies, then they will be more likely to be on LinkedIn. So that's where you make the choice. if you see an opportunity of talking about a certain topic and you have the expert in-house, which is related to resources, you have the time, you have the expertise, there are some concepts ready, you can also try starting a podcast. So, but it should be realistic within what you have available in terms of time and such. And then, of course, your marketing goals. What is your marketing goal? Is it sales at the moment? Is it awareness? Is it lead generation? Because if your short-term goal is sales, which I can respect because you need to survive as a company, then blogs might not be the best thing. But if you do have some space for awareness, or you have been having a great year, but you want to create awareness for a specific product that you are going to launch, then you can focus a bit more on those type of channels. So see what exactly is the purpose of your content that you're creating. And then I want to link to the funnels that people always refer to, because as a marketer, there are many funnels. It starts with awareness, and then you have the action, or people convert, or you have see, think, do from Google. There are different funnels, but they don't really work in life sciences because there are different decision makers. There's the user, which can be the scientist or the healthcare provider. There's the CEO. There's maybe a department that purchases the products. There are different stakeholders involved, maybe even investors or other people. So who are you exactly funneling at that moment, right? And also, if you put someone in an attention phase, in an interest phase, in a desire phase, in an action phase, and they say, I don't have the budget for it, or we're not ready to do this, or this is not a priority, you don't know if they're ready to buy. And that makes sense because we are in a niche industry. We have niche clients. You have niche clients. They might be cancer researchers. They might be biotech executives. They might be a company developing medtech products. But there are not many. It's not like you're targeting thousands and thousands of people. So chances that a lot of them will be ready to buy right now is just small. And chances that you can reach them everywhere and every time is also small. So what you want to do instead is try through content, providing them value, providing them information about your product, your company, about some topics that are interesting for them, educating them, and then making sure that they know you. You're constant on top of mind, and you are nurturing. So it is kind of a funnel, but you are nurturing them with different types of information. But it is possible that they will forward your company to another decision maker within the company. And then they've already seen your content as well, because your content is focused on providing value. It's focused on generating demand. It's focused on making sure everyone within that company understands what you do. And so if you move away from the idea of the classic funnel and more towards providing value and generating demand, that works better for you. So one of my colleagues has developed this model because what we noticed was that other models, marketing models, do not work in life sciences. So what we always recommend is focusing on demand generation instead. So you have your audience, you know who your niche is, you have an idea buyer profile, you've done market research on them, you know their needs, you know their problems, you know their informational need. And then from this informational need, you know which type of content you want to create for them, because you know that they want to learn more about a specific protein analysis. They want to learn more about a specific regulatory process in medical technology development. They want to know something about how to increase the chances that their preclinical model will respond better to your drugs and such. These are the types of informational needs you have identified. And then you create this, batch of content that we just talked about. It doesn't really matter what it is as long as they see it. And then you create value for them and you distribute it through different channels. For example, display that we're talking about. And you generate the data, right? So you know what is engaging for them. You know how many people are looking to know your brand, how many people have been engaging with your brand. We have specific ways to do this as well. And then what happens is within that niche, you get to become their preferred brand because they've consumed so much of your content. They know exactly who you are. they are already convinced of your expertise. You're just ready for them to have a good moment that they either see you at the right time, or you connect with them on events or conferences, or they say, hey, you know what, we really need to solve this problem. Let's connect with this company. And so what happens is you'll stay on top of mind. You'll even get inbound leads at some point. So instead of constantly pushing, hoping someone will engage, people will also come to you. They will fill in their contact details on their website, or just connect with your salesperson because they've been talking with them a while ago. And we believe that that's the way to go. That's the way how you achieve this growth that you are looking for. And that growth could be growth in leads. It could be growth in sales. That doesn't really matter. But the core is that you try to generate demand within your niche and then become the preferred brand. And that is why that content is so important. So just putting the content creation in perspective. If you are thinking, what should I create in terms of content? Always think, do I know my niche? Do I know their informational needs? Am I providing value? If so, great, then distribute it. Analyze the data, see if it's working. If not, optimize and make sure that you become the preferred brand. And then I was talking about the distribution, which is an important part, because if you don't distribute, they don't see your ad. Now, display advertising, it's an interesting topic. When you think of promotion, you think of social media, you think of maybe search ads, and then display is a bit different because it's a bit more advanced. It has a lot of pitfalls also. It needs to work, right? You want to be sure that you're reaching the right products. But in the end, what you're doing is someone goes to CNN.com to read some news or whatever, and you want them to see your ad. That's what you're basically trying to do. They appear as banners, or they can be pop-ups. That doesn't really matter. But you can buy this advertising space through big platforms such as Google Ads. But in life science, there are some others as well that I will mention. So what are the pros and cons of display ads? So with display ads, you can basically grab the attention. If you have a very nice ad that pops up on a website, you grab their attention. It's excellent for brand awareness because they see your logo, they see your message. If you have it conveyed in a simple, nice, appealing way, it's great for brand awareness. It has very advanced targeting options also. So you are able, I'll get to that later, to target people in specific segments or with specific search behaviors within your audience. And then that audience you can reach at scale. So it's relatively more affordable sometimes if you do it correctly. It can also be expensive, of course. We'll get to that if you do it incorrectly. And then because it's such a skill, you have a lot of data, and data is amazing because data shows you what works and what doesn't. So that's a big pro. And there are interactive elements available as well. So what you can do is, for example, ask a question, and then they click on a certain answer, and then they submit or whatever. So people are engaged also with your ad. So let's have a look at the cons. In terms of ROI measurement, it's complex, right? So it's the classic question. Okay, so I've been purchasing this space. You know, if you purchase a billboard on the side of a road, what did it deliver? You don't know. Well, we know because we have a model for that. What we do is we do brand measurements. So what you do is you have this audience that you are targeting. Before you target them, we do a brand measurement. We say, ask the question to that audience, how well do you know this brand, or do you know this brand compared to the other brands? So we measure sort of a baseline of how many people know you. And then we do the advertising campaigns. And then after a while, we redo that research again within that same audience. And then what you see is you see an uplift. You see more people will respond that they know you. So that's your specific tangible ROI that you can also then communicate to other people within the company who might say, why are we doing display and is this working for us? And we developed this exactly for this reason, because you don't want to just spend money on ads, putting them somewhere and hoping for the best. You want to be sure that it delivers results. It has a relatively lower CTR, which is a bit of a con. Is it because you're also reaching people at scale, right? So that's also, it's relative. It might cause potential brand irritation. If you have the same ad running for a very long time, then, you know, what's the value for them, right? So it's maybe also important to keep changing them. The risk of wrong targeting is a bit tricky. We see this a lot when we take over accounts from clients or from other agencies that don't have life science experience. What we see is that the targeting is wrong. We see, for example, it's been on the wrong places. We see it's not the right audience, and we can easily see that by demographic insights or the way people engage on the audience, or people have been clicking, but they have not taken any action on the website. So what are you exactly doing, right? It requires high quality design. So it does require some investment in time, that you make a nice design that, it's content creation. Content creation takes time. And it's maybe less effective for lead generation. Not necessarily. If you're doing branding, then it won't generate leads now, which is not a bad thing, because if you have a long-term goal, you want to have both brand awareness and lead generation, always at the same time running. But if you have a white paper or so, you can always offer the white paper through display and saying, hey, download this interesting white paper about this topic. If someone offers you free knowledge about something, even if you don't know them, why wouldn't you click if it's presented in a nice way? Don't you want to know the trends of a specific topic for 2025? Of course you do, and your audience does as well. So it is possible, but it's tricky because it requires an excellent targeting, and maybe over time, as you've done these brand projects and you see the uplift and you know it's the right audience, that could be a moment, for example. But on the other hand, if you don't try, you don't know. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of display ads and placing them in context of your other channels. Now, there are a lot of places where you can, of course, purchase online ad spaces. I just mentioned Google Ads. We have Verve also that we work with. I'll dive into that a bit later. But there are also channels that are pharma specific. So you can also advertise on ResearchGate or on websites such as Fierce Pharma or Fierce Biotech, where people read the news. Should you use these channels? That's a bit tricky. Why is it tricky? Because yes, your audience is there, and yes, they are exactly the scientists or the executives or whatever, but they are quite costly, and there's a big difference from what we see. Now, if we run display campaigns, you can run them starting from 10 euros a day or so, and you can reach a lot of people if the targeting is right. But if you go on these platforms, they'll charge thousands of euros or dollars for maybe a week. So the difference is very big. Now, if you're a large company and you have too much marketing budget, of course, it makes sense to be there. If you're not, you really have to go for the channel that is the most efficient and the one that helps you scale the most. And then these ones are not likely to be the ones we recommend using Google Ads. Plus, there are tricks to target people who have been on these websites. So I'll dive into that later, but you can target people who've been on these websites or people who have affinity with these topics through Google anyway, because people use the Google browser, Chrome browser, and they've been on these websites. Google has their data, so you can ask Google to target them anyway for far less. And that's also what we've been doing in the past year. So this constant battle with the budget, right? There's so much you want to do, but it's not possible. That's why we constantly have been looking for the best possible way to target the audience for the least amount, and also with quality visitors. And then that's how we developed all these hacks in terms of profiling and targeting and keyword research and such. Now, if you make a display ad, it has to be visually appealing. We don't always see this. We see if someone has a designer or not, or works with an agency. But we recommend these things. It should be eye-catching. So you always want animations, for example, because animations, they just eye-catching. If you're reading something on CNN or whatever, you see something popping up. That's an easy way to grab the attention. You use high-quality images, simple messaging, because you have their short attention. So make sure you have short sentences. Brand consistency. Ideally, if you target people who already know you, they should recognize your brand colors or the way you, have your buttons, your font, everything that is associated with your brand. If they recognize that, then that's already a plus also for you. They'll also be more likely to read it or maybe even click. Clear call to actions are important because that's the thing you're trying to achieve. You want them to read something, you want them to engage in some way that whatever you have decided that is good. So always have a clear call to action ending with that. A/B testing, of course, yeah, we tend to forget it sometimes, but it's so valuable if you have multiple ads running at the same time within an audience and you just know certain things work better. It could be a matter of a picture, it could be a matter of a messaging, but it's really worth investing time in that also, making different assumptions of what could work in terms of engagement. 2 times more engagement can lead to 2 times more business in the end. And then also thinking of psychological elements, right? So they see your ad and it looks nice, but you also, of course, want to persuade them to click. So what is the value exactly? What are they getting from it? Is it a testimonial maybe you're using in that ad to make them click? Is it a free white paper? Is it knowledge? Yeah. What do you think works best? So here are some examples. Just want to go through them. You see it moves, it's recognizable. You should also think that if someone is on a website, they'll get multiple ads because, our audiences also look for shoes and such, right? So maybe they're constructing their house like I've been doing in the past months. And then you get all these things advertised as in, get a new bathroom or such. We can redo your windows or whatever, or how to renovate your roof. But if you then see something life science associated with the product, I think that's important to showcase that a little bit in terms of the images you use also, that they recognize that. Also, maybe good to mention, because I don't know if it's in the other slides, also think of your audience journey. If you are advertising on display in the weekend when people are with their family or friends, do you think they are going to click? Maybe it's good for brand awareness, showing a message, but probably not for a white paper download or such. So always also take a bit into consideration when you are advertising. So here's another one for the promotion of a product. Have you ever heard of? So clearly you're trying to introduce a certain product with short, brief information of what it is. It's very simple. It just explains what the product does. You can measure how many people have viewed it also. So based on that data, you know how well this ad is, and you can shorten it a little bit, or if the engagement is high, you can extend it a little bit, or you can add other things. And then, of course, adding the call to action, which is always important. Here's another one, bit of a different style. So the style also needs to match your company. Ideally, you have a brand book with icons and such that make it recognizable. This one is also very dynamic. And this one is great. It ends with a specific person you can talk to. That makes it very personal. That's also a very good psychological element. So just to give you some examples of which type of display ads we see working. Let me see if I... Yeah, so that was the first part. Part 2 is about Google Display. Now, this is again an example of the placement of an ad. If you are on a certain news website, your ad will be shown. What are the targeting options in Google Display? You can do website-based targeting. So you can choose on which website, for example, your ad appears. But you can also target on topics that are mentioned on websites. So, for example, if a website talks about stem cells, then Google knows that, Google Ads, and it will showcase your ads because a certain blog or article or whatever where you can purchase that media buy space, it will showcase your ad right there. You can also do user-based. So there's remarketing, right, which is really important because people who have been on your website are more likely to engage with your brand later also because they know you, they've expressed interest somehow. So having your remarketing ad set up is quite an important thing. Maybe the first thing you always need to do before you start any ad or targeting strategy. And then there's search intent, which is a really important one for life science because you're reaching audiences based on their Google search history. Now, people who have been looking for keywords associated with certain lab equipment or biomarkers, terminologies, jargon that only these type of scientists use, you are targeting only those people because I'm not a cancer researcher. So chances are small that I am looking for a specific cancer biomarker. So if you use these keywords and identify those with high search volumes, and you ask Google to target the people who have been searching for these keywords in the past year, you are exactly targeting people with the interest in cancer biomarkers. And that's then maybe your audience. So that's an important one. I'll show an example in a bit. You can also do demographics based. If you have a bit more of it's still niche, but if you have a bit more of a larger audience, there's personal data available that Google has. So people know age, people know gender, those type of things. Maybe if for recruitment purposes or for event promotions, or maybe just general brand awareness within a certain, we see that a lot from pharma clients that want to go a bit further than just a niche audience. It could work best. Or location, so showing your ads in specific countries, regions, or cities. A tactic that we also do is targeting specific areas around the conference because you know your audience is there. So these are just to give you a view of the targeting. So again, to also explain the difference, so you can do search intent. With search intent, you ask Google to target people who have been searching for a specific keyword in the past year. And it doesn't matter on which websites they are. They can be anywhere. They can be on CNN. They can be checking the weather. They can do anything they want. But your ad is shown because they have the interest in a specific keyword. Whereas contextual means the content on the website refers to the keywords that you want them to target. So stem cells is specifically mentioned on these websites. So just to explain this difference to you. And then the targeting example of search intent can be that you make these different groups. They can be service specific. So if you have a service in biomarker analysis, you want to have all the keywords associated with that. And then you target people who have been searching for that in the past year. But there's more possible if you do a good keyword research. There are competitors that you can target. Events and conferences, interests. And they can also all have different types of content that you show. The ones that have been searching for the service maybe have a bit more technical information. The one that have been searching for a competitor, maybe a bit more marketing type of content, because apparently they're quite interested. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on your competitor's website in the service. Events and conferences is maybe a bit more towards meeting them, saying, meet us at this conference, for example. And then there's interest, which is also great for general brand awareness. It's also important to get into the mind of your audience for those interests. Which type of conferences do they visit? Like I said, if you have conferences or interests that only your audience has, that's a great way to target them for not so much budget. You don't have to go to very expensive platforms. You can create these profiles yourselves. Think of articles they read. Think of certain authors that are popular, or technical developments, or web browsing behavior. Which type of websites? It doesn't have to be a website. It could also be a part of a website. So a page, for example, a specific article that was viral about a specific neurological breakthrough, something like that. Again, an example, you have events, and then the display ad or campaign will target people who have been searching for these specific events. Or lab equipment, lab centrifuge, lab freezers, electrocardiograph, ophthalmology equipment. Now, I know one thing, I'm not looking for ophthalmology equipment. Probably ophthalmologists are. So those type of things, those are the ways that you target your right audience. Yeah, so now having people click on your ad is one thing, right? But they need to go to your website. And the landing page needs to be interesting. If they end up in a general, uninteresting page, they'll leave and your bounce rate will be high. So you're still wasting money. So ensure that your landing page aligns with the information in the ad. If you are talking about the product, you should refer them to a product page. If you're talking about the white paper, you should refer them to a clear page where the white paper is. Their journey to the action that you want them to take, whether it's reading an article, whether it's downloading something, it should be as short as possible. So make sure you have that in mind. Having clear headline, that's important also for both your ad and the landing page. If that aligns with each other, that's also recognizable. They feel like they're ended up on the right website. Let me check. Yeah, you can highlight your product key benefits. So if you are talking about the product and you want them to download something like the white paper, just highlight the key things. Don't go deep into technical details before you lead them to the place where they can find the white paper, for example. And then trust signals are very important. Social proof, customer reviews, clear content information. We saw a great example of someone that's showing someone that they can contact with, maybe a picture. Those things work great. You'll see more engagement on your page. So the better quality of your whole campaign also. And then expanding your strategy. So if you've been doing something for for a while, you can do some other things. So we've already talked about retargeting. You can do A/B testing a lot. And it can be as simple as colors. It can be as simple as images. They have a lot of they have a big difference. But also maybe your product pipeline. Maybe you have different products and some just work better within certain audiences. Geolocation is important. So you know where the big science hubs are. You know where the big life science companies are. You know where Novo Nordisk is located in Denmark. You know where the science park in Basel is located. You know where the science park in Leiden is located. Based on those locations, you can also target just that location on a certain degree of within that periphery. So that's also a great way to engage those people. And events, if you go to events, you can target the people who also have been on the website of that event or have been searching for it. Target them saying, hey, I'm there too. Let's meet. Book a call here. That's also a fun strategy to try out. There are a lot of things that you can do. Here's an example. We had this ad also with simply just book a meeting, and then people would end up on a page where they can book a meeting. That's it. That's really it. Then I see I have 15 minutes left. So I'm moving to part 3. Just a quick introduction of Verve DSP, because we talk a lot about Google Display. Just want to explain what it is. It's basically a programmatic advertising platform. It works a bit like Google Display, right? But then through multiple digital channels, so you're not depending on just the Google Display network. It includes mobile, desktop, same as Google Ads, but also digital out of home. And I have an example later. But it basically means, for example, banners outside in the real world, which are also digital. But it can be, for example, nice when there are certain events or such, and you purchase at an airport or at a certain conference location, places where people walk by. So it's just something to maybe try also. That's really interesting. It's very AI driven and privacy centric also. So it relies less on cookies, which is also a difference. So the similarities are that both platforms, of course, they show your ad, they're displaying the ads basically at different spaces. They both target, people based on demographics, locations, interests, behavior also. It's all automated also. There's a bidding strategy and such. But the difference is that Verve operates a bit more privacy friendly. At least that's what they mention. It's cookieless. They target people based on first-party data, and they're a bit more mobile-focused also, and they offer additional advertising opportunities with these out-of-home ways. So this was, for example, from GSK, which is one of their clients, a bit of an example of a targeting. So you're walking outside and you've already seen ads of GSK, and then at some point you walk outside and also see it. And it aligns a bit with the other ads. So their AI and such predicts a little bit also what is the best strategy in that. So it's not a random billboard you have next to a road hoping that you see people. So it's definitely interesting. So if you value privacy, want to comply better with GDPR, maybe in certain countries it's a bit more strict than in others, what we've seen also with Google Analytics and Sweden, for example, then you can try it. But you can also experiment with digital out of home. That can be maybe fun also. Then I want to end with some technical tips for you. Now, if you do display, it's important to install conversion tracking. You can install Google Analytics tracking pixels on your website. You can do that through a code or through Google Tag Manager. If you need help with that, it's super technical. Let us know. We do that a lot, also integrating other pixels, because you just want to have a clear overview of all the tags. But how do you do it? Once you've installed it, we recommend registering soft conversions such as user time and number of visited pages, for example, because the ones that come on your website, people through display ads and do not purchase something, they're not yet a client, you can still have some data on their behavior and call those soft conversions. So for example, have they been spending more than 30 seconds on my website? Have they visited more than 3 pages? These are things that you can come up with that you think is valuable data to track. And then you also know, okay, with this ad, people spend more time on my website. With that ad, people go through my website through multiple pages. So I know that one is qualitatively more good for us. So that's one of our technical tips. Another one is to optimize for exclusions. What happens a lot in display is you can be shown on the wrong places. What Google likes to do is putting your ad in a lot of apps that are not relevant. And then, I don't know, someone's kid accidentally clicks on the ad or whatever happens, and then you see a high bounce rate. You don't want that. So what you can do, for example, is make exclusion lists of websites, or you can go through the criteria and say, okay, these specific app categories I don't want to be shown to, or you can exclude certain times. Like I mentioned, maybe the weekend doesn't work good for you, but it is important to regularly check your placement lists. Where is my ad shown? That's very important. So not just the data, how many people have been clicking or coming on my website, but where's my ad shown? That gives a lot of qualitative insight for you. And then, I mentioned the custom intent audience. I think if you want to start, there are 2 things. Retargeting for sure, but then the custom intent audience, people who have searched for any term on these Google terms, like it says here, it's literally explained. So drug screening, preclinical research, preclinical R&D, contract research. If it's doctors, think of medical terminology or blood values that, parameters that only they know, that they would Google for. Really dive into their mind. What we do is market research. We do interviews. If you have a CTO or a technical department, you can maybe also ask them what the audience would typically look for and try to dive into their mind. So what does this specific cancer researcher look for? And then put them all in here and then call them. Like I mentioned, this is, if you have different categories, this is the interest category, for example. You can distinct also the quality of those different ones. So it can be created in the shared library. You can type it in or upload the list that you created together with your team. Really invest time in this. Invest time in the keyword research. We have various webinars given already about keyword research. That's why I don't want to bore you with that. But it is really important. It's really important. And then there's also something with the quality. If you upload ads, they need to look nice. And then if you, for example, upload a GIF, it won't show nice quality. It will be a bit pixelated. So always try to upload a HTML banner. There are no-code solutions to do that. There are no-code solutions to upload HTML banners, for example, like Creatopy. It requires a nice design, which we always create. We create a nice design. We give this for review to the client. We ask their opinion. Then we optimize it. And then we download it as an HTML5 file and then upload it in Google Display. And that will deliver the best results. What will happen otherwise? This is, by the way, for accounts who have spent at least 10,000 euros. In some cases, we do it for the client because, of course, we have large budgets that we manage. So we can do that. But it is important because otherwise you're showing an ugly ad and you don't want that. You want to have it at high quality. What can also is you have like the text and then the image, which is not aligned. You don't want that. You don't want to make a bad impression. So make sure that that you have that in place. And then, yeah, I guess I'm on time with a few minutes left. This is basically what I had to share today. So I hope this was valuable, as in we have a bit of a different way of looking at a topic. We looked at display from a perspective of content and then from a perspective of how it works. And I think that's important because then you know a bit more in context, like what am I exactly advertising and not just randomly targeting because we just talked about content or having bad content at that point. So yeah, what are your summer projects? I'm really curious. Is there something specific you're going to work on? Has this inspired you to work on something? Maybe something that was on your mind? Really curious to, if you can share maybe. We're a community, right? I see there are 20 people in this chat. So maybe share some ideas of what you are working on this summer to inspire each other because you're all peers. You're all doing the same. I don't know if anyone wanted to share something with us. I see Jeroen thanked me. You're welcome, Jeroen. I don't know if anyone is typing. You may also share your holiday plans if you like. That's also fun. I just came back, so I went to France, which was great. I left in a time that it was 15 degrees in the Netherlands. 15. That's very bad. But luckily I was there. And I hope it stays like this, a bit more warm. I guess everyone was looking forward to it. But if there are no questions or comments, I just want to wish you all a very, very, very nice summer. And we'll be here. We'll be announcing events. We'll be announcing a training that's coming up. We'll be announcing some other live events like this one. So yeah, do have a look at our LinkedIn page. Connect with me if you like. Send me an email. It's easy, risgar@scientialmarketing.com. If you have specific technical questions about display, our specialists can also help with that. But just let us know. We're here, and I really appreciate you coming. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any feedback also, please let me know. So thank you, and we'll see each other the next time.